Can you hear me okay? Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I'm Bev Nelson, and yes, I am one of Fairfield's RAGBRAI co-chairs, and I'm also a vice president at the Area Chamber of Commerce. And at each chamber meeting, every vice president gives a little report on their committees. So last month at February's meeting, we took turns. It was my turn, and I reported on the Manufacturers Association, and I reported on the Progressive Merchants. And then I said, and on our tourism committee, we have over 20,000 people going to come to Fairfield in one day this year. And our goal for next year is to spread those out just a little bit. The number of how many people are coming to town for RAGBRAI grows at every place I go. It started out being a little over like 15,000, and the last number I heard was 27,000, so I've quit even trying to estimate how many people. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of RAGBRAI. RAGBRAI started about 25 years ago this year, when Donald Kaul and John Karras decided that they would bicycle across Iowa to gather some information for their news columns. They just needed a new angle, new perspective. So that first time they called it the 6-day bicycle trip. Another colleague said to him, why don't you invite some other people to bike with you? So they put out the word that they were going to do this, and about 300 people showed up. So they bicycled across Iowa with not any real plans from Sioux City to Davenport. The next year they thought, that's it. It was a one-time thing, had a good time, got some information, did some columns, never to be done again. But when they got back to Des Moines, they started getting letters and phone calls from across the state saying, do it again, do it again. So the next year, the second event was planned, and in much greater detail, they actually found places for people to stay, in campgrounds and things like that. Then in 1975, the official name actually became Register's Annual Great Bicycle Ride Across Iowa, and each year was then numbered. So this year is the silver anniversary, number 25. This year the trip will begin in Missouri Valley, Iowa, and will end in Fort Madison. It's one of the hilliest trips that they've ever had. As a matter of fact, they are comparing it to biking in the Rockies. Matter of fact, John Karras says, guaranteed it will make strong men weep and stronger women stronger. So how do you like that saying? I kind of like that one. The RAGBRAI now has a full-time coordinator also. His name is Jim Green, and he comes to Fairfield and to each host town every 2 weeks and meets with them, trying to coordinate what everybody's doing, answer all the questions and stuff. This traveling family, and that's about what it is too, will come to Fairfield on Friday, July 25th. So we'll be hosting the 25th on the 25th. The majority of riders will be coming in around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, middle to late afternoon, although throughout the day support vehicles and some of those early risers will be here earlier. I quite frankly think this is a wonderful opportunity to show off our town. It really is. I mean, how many other times can we say that we've had over 20,000 people come visit us? And I think it's a great way to show off our parks, our new library, the university, hey, the new swimming pool, some of our gorgeous homes in Central Park. Just a little funny for you how I became co-chair. Talk about a weak moment. I answered the phone, I was in bed sick. A very weak moment. And Jeff Wilson says, man, Bev, you sound a lot worse than you did the day before when we'd had a luncheon meeting. I said, oh, yeah, don't feel good at all. And he said, have you heard what came to Fairfield? And I thought I knew what he's talking about because I'd got an inclination from the chamber that RAGBRAI was stopping by. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he said, RAGBRAI wants Fairfield to host one night. And I go, oh, that'd be great. That'll really be a lot of fun. He goes, I was hoping you'd say that. I want you to co-chair. And I went, are you nuts? And then he quickly said, you don't feel good. Take some time to think about it. Doesn't that sound like just typical man kind of thing? And I said, we'll talk next week. And that was that. Monday I called him and said, I will co-chair if I am not the only co-chair. So then we began the pursuit of finding somebody else to co-chair and got Joe Carr and Pat Doyle. So the three of us are the co-chairs. I really do think it's an honor for Jefferson County as a community itself to have RAGBRAI. They don't just pick just any town. They look for a community that really has some spirit to it, that can pull this off and make just be a great host. Something that just happened I think it's been about 2 weeks ago, that kind of brought the community spirit back into me, that we really are still a community, that even though we're all racing off to work and home and here and there, was that there was a benefit held here in town for a lifelong resident who has cancer. And I'm guessing about 400 people showed up and over $5,000 were raised for this person. And that's not, counting just, I'm sure other people have donated and stuff. And that night, I know Deb Carlson and I talked, isn't this something? Isn't this really something? And that was like community all over again, just like the old small town where everybody took care of each other community. And that's what we want to show these writers, that Fairfield's all about, that we really are that kind of a community. Well, ins and outs of being a host town for RAGBRAI are many, let me tell you. We have 19 subcommittees and an advisory board. And the advisory board just is like people like Terry Lowenberg that's been on many RAGBRAIs, Terry Klein that has been. And they just sit back and just kind of help guide us as the co-chairs and the subcommittees. Several of my subcommittee chairs are here today, and so I'm going to go over some of the things that they will be doing and just kind of give you an overview of the whole aspect of having RAGBRAI come to Fairfield. First off, we're going to need thousands of volunteers, literally thousands. Marsha Gaines, where's Marsha sitting? There's Marsha. She and Jim Edgeton are going to be taking names of people that just want to volunteer to do anything or whatever. And then as subcommittees call and say, I need 35 people to help with information booth, they will then give names to the information booth chairperson. So they have a big job just gathering people together in names, and they're going to do a great job because they know everybody. Hey, that's why they got that committee. We start out with a zero budget. I think a lot of people think that RAGBRAI is a big money maker. Towns in the past have said that it's not a big money maker, that it's a great way to showcase your town, but you will not get rich off of it. So RAGBRAI tells us we start with zero budget. So right off the bat, I want to thank Terry Klein and Oakwood Nursery for donating some money just to get us started. And that was really great. Sudie Williamson is our budget committee chairperson, and she's already getting those figures down as to how much things are going to cost and making our committee chairs really think about how we're going to pay for things. Susan Kessel is our publicity chair, and her committee is going to be keeping the community informed on what's going on. Because you as residents of the community are going to need to know that day, what street do I not go down, and what, where else shall I keep away from, or how am I going to get to where I'm going to go volunteer, and things like that. So her committee will be keeping you informed. They'll be helping put together a tabloid for that actual day. There'll be things in the paper, on the radio, through FPAC, the whole bit, so that everybody kind of can keep up with what's going on. The hospitality committee is headed by Deb Carlson, and Deb's going to be looking for volunteers just to greet the writers. One of the things that previous writers have told us that it's a really good feeling when they ride into a town and it's just lined with kids, everybody, senior citizens, everybody standing there just saying welcome to Fairfield. And I think that'd be really neat if we could do that. And the next morning, same kind of thing as they're riding out, bye, come again. So Deb will also be helping to decorate the town and other ways to how to show off Fairfield with our hospitality. Did you know that we need 50 acres just for camping? Anybody got that in their backyard that we could use? 50 acres, I mean, that's a lot. And that's just for the tent camping. There would be some RV camping there too. Basically Dean Haney with our park department is taking over that duty, and his plan right now is to use O.B. Nelson Park and the middle school. They've cleared a lot of land back to the back of that. So that will be tent camping, and probably some campers there too. Did you know that we'll need 200 shower heads? And that's not counting people that's staying in other people's homes. So things like that, little things that you don't think about. The writers, when they come to town, they want a shower, food, and a place to sleep. And those are just the three basics that they're wanting. Swimming pools are going to be a necessity. Think about it, Iowa, July heat. The pools will be busy. The RAGBRAI also brings their own semi for baggage. There's the ambulance and some other trucks that come along with them. Plus, there's 14 bicycle shops that follow through clear across Iowa with RAGBRAI, fixing bikes. Our main information center for the RAGBRAI will be at the middle school. And then there will probably be other smaller centers, I would guess, around town. And this center will answer all kinds of questions, not only handing out like tabloids and maps and things like that, but they'll answer questions from anywhere from where can I wash my car to where can I get a pretty postcard of your square, those kinds of questions. So Information Center will need a lot of people with a lot of knowledge of Fairfield. The committee is in the very capable hands of Sally Neff. Now, food service. The other thing they want, lodging, showers, food. Food service is a really important aspect of RAGBRAI. We are estimating that we'll need to serve 10 to 15,000 meals. So that's like the town of Fairfield all going out to eat at the same time, right? We'll be concentrating mostly on an evening meal and the breakfast meal. So evening meal for the 25th, breakfast for Saturday morning. Food vendors will need to have a state license to sell because the food inspector, I'm sure, will be in town that day. What our tentative plans are is that we'll have, hopefully, many churches and groups will want to actually do sit-down dinners, and then we'll also just have stands, to pick up a bag of popcorn or pick up, a Coke or a sandwich, those kinds of stands also. And many of these things, these ideas all come from RAGBRAI, from 25 years of experience. We have a 140-page book that really lines it out very nicely for us. Some of the other kinds of food might be like juice, fruit, ice drinks if it's hot, warm drinks if it's cold, trail mixes, cookies, tacos, all these kinds of things can be at little stands. The committee will also be helping with pricing meals because we don't want them to leave Fairfield and go, wow, all the food was really high at that town, So some of the food pricing will be in conjunction with the other towns along the route this year. We'll be getting many requests, RAGBRAI tells us, from outside vendors, people from Des Moines wanting to come here and set up food. They suggest to us, and we have already decided, that we will use local people and local vendors first because we want the money to stay here in town, with our people setting up and making the money off the food. And so if we have requests from outside vendors, we'll just keep those on hold until we know if we have a niche where we need that. But this will be a way for a lot of organizations and people to make some money at RAGBRAI. Kristen Bandy and her committee are really actively on this food vending, and they're really doing a great job. Non-food vending will help people organize other things other than food that they want to sell. And Crossland, Karen's sitting over there, she's in charge of this one. And so people that want to sell balloons or flowers or give massages or something like that, if they're not selling food, you like that massage, huh? They will be needing to contact the chamber, and then we'll get on Karen's list, and then she'll also be just helping decide where are these going to be situated, where they're going to be set up. Jamie Kicken and her committee will be arranging housing. Think about it. All these people, they all got to sleep someplace, right? Many don't like to camp, or they'll camp a few nights and then want to spend a night in a home. That way they can get a definite hot shower, and they get to meet people, and that's the whole thing with RAGBRAI too. I don't think they're all doing it just for the exercise, I think that they really are wanting to meet people. So many, with housing, you don't have to feed them, you don't have to drive them around or anything. All they ask is that you give them a place to sleep, the floor is fine, and a hot shower. So anybody that's interested in opening up their home, my folks did it last time, 1988, when RAGBRAI came through, and it was really fun. But please call the chamber, put your name on the list, and just say how many people you could accommodate. Many times they want to be at their group and they want to stick together at one home. And also if you've got yard space to set up tents. Usually towns receive about 3,000 requests for housing, and unfortunately most towns can only accommodate about 1,000 people. So I'd really like to have just as many as we can to get housing. Another committee is the Ride Right program, and this is a bicycle safety program through the Des Moines Register and RAGBRAI. What it is a way to communicate to riders and children especially on bicycle safety. Julie Kinsella, that's a police officer here in town, has taken over that committee. It was real interesting that the police chief Don Raymond mentioned, he says, we have 6 bicycle police officers now, and we've been wanting to put on some bicycle safety classes but haven't had the funds. And I said, here we go, here's the program. And so what Julie will be doing is setting up, speaking at groups and at schools, just encouraging bicycle safety. And RAGBRAI has like color books and all kinds of things like that that she'll be able to pass out. Well, usually Fairfield doesn't have much problems with traffic jams, not a real big issue that we think a whole lot about, think about it that day. So traffic control is going to be really a major challenge. We ask for everyone to please be patient. They're just here for a few hours. It's one, late afternoon to the next morning, and we do want it to be a really safe one. So please plan on, if you're going home from work, that you do allow just a little extra time to get around town and stuff. Jerry Long and his committee and the police department will all be working together on this. We may have a few streets closed just for convenience, may make a couple in one way. We don't know that stuff yet, but Susan with the Publicity will get that information out to you as soon as we know it. We also are asking that everybody help with that also, and that these are our guests and that we all treat them like they're our guests. And with that is the law enforcement. I mean, that's a huge undertaking. And Don Raymond's just probably going to be so sick of meetings by the time RAGBRAI comes, because he's been hitting almost every one of them, so that he knows exactly what's going on. He's helping with the placement of the route, entertainment, the whole aspect of it. The Beverage Garden. How about that one? This is a place that we hope to make we hope to make some money to offset all these costs of things that won't produce revenue. As to location, don't know yet, or how many tents there will be. You know, people keep asking me how many beer tents are going to be. We don't know that either. RAGBRAI suggests one, and they also suggest a non-alcoholic beverage tent. So we're going to keep that in mind. We want to keep in mind something that Jim Green from Des Moines Register told us. He said, RAGBRAI is a family event. Many, many families plan their whole week's vacation for that week of RAGBRAI, and they and the kids bicycle, or maybe one of them's bicycling and the other one's in the van, clear across Iowa. And he said, when you hear these stories about towns, you hear about the beer tent, he said, keep in mind that lots of those people are not RAGBRAI participants, that they are people from town, they're from surrounding towns that come in for your entertainment and to enjoy meeting all the people on RAGBRAI. So that's something to keep, that I was like, you know, that's probably true. I hadn't thought about that. So really the largest percentage of these people that we hear about in the past and stuff are not even RAGBRAI participants. Sean Samples is the committee chair for the Beverage Garden. As you can guess, he's getting a lot of volunteers for his area. He said, I don't think I'm going to have a problem with volunteers. Marsha, so just that'll help you out there, won't it? One thing you might not think about is how are these riders going to get from place to place in town? Many of them, yes, will ride their bikes, but we'll also have a shuttle service. And these buses will take people from the campgrounds, maybe to Hy-Vee or downtown or to the showers out of the campus or someplace like that. There'll be a shuttle route. And Vivian Hammis, who's the most organized person that I've ever met, has already got it all. She's mapping this stuff out and she's got it down. I'm really glad she took that committee. Well, now here's one that will, I'm sure, be of interest to all of you. We're going to need over 100 Porta-Potties, okay? Anybody got any extras at home? We're going to need them at the campgrounds, at the entertainment, the beverage garden. One complaint that I heard from last time in '88 was the garbage. And so we're going to do everything that we can to help that. You know, bigger dumpsters, hopefully our placement will be better on them. But one thing that we're going to need is everybody's help. I mean, if you live along the route into town, set out your garbage can that day empty. If the riders have something in their hand to throw away, they will put it in the garbage can rather than throw it on the ground if it's there and available. Same like if you live up close to the square or on one of the streets going to the square, do the same thing, because if they are riding by or walking uptown, they will place it in the garbage can. So that's just a little something that we can all do. Joe Stevers, the chairman of that committee, and one little thing he pointed out last time was the cleanup the next day. We're so busy thinking about that Friday afternoon, Friday night. And he said that is one area where we will need a lot of volunteers. It's not the funnest job in the world, but the more people that we can get to help clean up the next day, the faster it will be for everyone. Entertainment committee. These guys are already having a good time, let me tell you. The local talent here in town is like burning up the phone lines trying to get their spot for RAGBRAI to perform. You guys laugh, I'm serious. We will be having almost all, as far as I know right now, all locals. And it'll be a variety of entertainment. I mean, things from jugglers to country music to rock bands. The radio station here in town has already invited Zippo and Maria, the morning DJs, to come and visit. So anybody that listens to them in the morning, you know that they're probably going to be playing something pretty fun. Myron Gukin and his committee are in charge of entertainment. The hospital ambulance service, medical needs are a really important thing. I mean, everything from, you know, sunstroke to serious things. So the hospital and our ambulance service here in town are working in conjunction together to take care of all that. They have already asked for a mobile unit from Des Moines to come down for that day. It's kind of like a mini ER room kind of a thing. Also, we're really lucky that Kim and Brian Woods from here in town are in charge of the ambulance for the entire RAGBRAI trip from clear across the state. So they've got lots of good ideas for us of things that have worked and haven't worked and are really helping with that one. Johnine Parker is in charge of the medical committee. Glenn Tedrow from the high school is going to be setting up a communications network for all of us chair people. Think about it. We're going to be all over town. You know, we need to be able to talk to each other. The RAGBRAI officials tell us that 40% of the riders have cell phones. So I'm pretty sure the towers that day are not going to be real good. So Glenn's going to come up with a way that we can talk to each other. We also have electricians committee. There'll need to be electricity here and there, you know, for people to plug into and the bands and things like that. Rodney Nelson, and I don't know how he got this job, you guys. I mean, I think it was kind of like this. I said yes to RAGBRAI, and I started reading the book and said, they need an electricians committee. Why don't you think about doing that? Started reading a little bit about it. He never answered me. A little while later, I said, you didn't give me a yes or no on that. And he goes, I didn't know I had a choice. But he and Rusty Muntz are going to be heading this. And so they'll be needing a lot of work and a lot of help, too, to kind of tie things together with all that. So for the past 25 years, Iowa has exceeded the RAGBRAI officials' expectations on their willingness to be the best that they can be. All towns have showcased their communities, and the success of RAGBRAI really depends on the volunteer force. I mean, that's all there is to it. And a lot of times, this volunteer force outnumbers the riders in RAGBRAI. And it's this positive attitude of the volunteers that really keeps this RAGBRAI spirit alive. And I want to thank everybody today. Juanita has some sign-up lists that she's going to pass out, and if you'll just pass them around, anybody that can sign up, please do. We broke it down. We realized not everybody can get the day off, though I would like to encourage all employers to let your employees off if possible. But we'll need people in the evening. We'll need people on Saturday. There's a lot. Is there any questions that I can answer of anybody? Many of this is just in the planning stage right now, so there's a lot of things that I won't be able to, don't know the answer to. Yeah?
I'm just thinking that the time the riders would be sort of planning their next day will be the night before. So is there a way that some of the merchants in Fairfield can, like, advertise or have some blurb in the previous town?
Yes, what we'll do is our tabloid will have everything. Anybody that wants to advertise in it will be able to buy advertising, and that will go to Bloomfield, which is the town before us, the day before. And so as the riders come into Bloomfield that day, they get Bloomfields if they don't already have it, and they'll get Fairfields. And I'm sure Fort Madison will be doing the same thing with us. Good question, though. Yeah? Don't know yet. Don't know yet. I'm going to guesstimate that it'll be up around the square. They encourage us not to have the entertainment close to the tents because a lot of people are going to, those hills are just going to want to come back to their tent and crash. So they encourage the entertainment not to be near the campground so that people can sleep. Anybody else? I asked Kathy Peck to come today and just give you a couple stories. She's ridden RAGBRAI. How many times, Kathy?
I think 10.
10 times. And she's looking forward to the hills this year. Strong women, stronger. Remember that? Come on up, Kathy. Kathy works at Oakwood Nursery and Flowers, and I just asked her to come to tell a couple stories about some experiences that she's had. I'm connected. Just hold it.
Well, RAGBRAI is always fun. I don't know. I think I've only been able to not do it 1 year. It's like an addiction. And I think the reason I go is for the reason Bev said, is that people want you to come. So when you go into a town, it's like this one night, I can just remember Kent and I went in. It was late. It was just dark. We had our lights on our bikes. And you walk along, you have this dazed look on your face. They know you haven't been to your tent already. And this guy came up to us and says, well, do you have some place to stay tonight? No, we just got into town. He says, well, how would you like to stay at my house? Like, are you serious? Yeah, come on, my wife will love it, So he drags us to his house. They have a whole room for us and just lets us be. He doesn't sit down and talk with us all night long. He doesn't, make us eat whatever he had. He just offers us the room. It was heaven, really. I just thought of that too when, it's coming to my town. I almost wish that maybe I wasn't riding, that I could be that one person out on the street seeing that one biker that's got, he might even have his, teenager with him. They don't have a place to stay. They're not with a club, or maybe they are with a club, but they're tired of setting up that tent every single night, and they would come over, not bring 20 people with them. I know that would scare off anybody. But think about it. Walk down the street, invite somebody in. It's amazing. I've also ridden out a lot of times. I take the week before RAGBRAI, and I pack all my gear on my bike, and I ride out to the start. And I have the same type of thing. I'll walk into a town and somebody will give me a place to stay. I guess those are the towns I remember the most, and the people that I remember the most is when they just invite you in and make you feel like you're welcome and tell you a story maybe on the square that is great. So I hope everybody's going to enjoy RAGBRAI as much as the RAGBRAI people enjoy coming. You have any questions or something you might ask?
You might mention where you got married.
We took a bicycle trip. We did skip RAGBRAI that year, but Kent and I took a bicycle trip down through North Carolina and the Blue Ridge Mountains. And in October, I knew his brother lived in one town over on this side, and I had a girlfriend that lived over here, and so we just kind of drew a fake line and took the maps, and each day went 35 to 80 miles, and along the way we found this place well, I did call ahead, I guess. I did call. You know, Georgia, they don't just give you a license on the same day, and Alabama didn't give same-day license, but South Carolina or North Carolina was just going to start that July giving same-day licenses. So we knew if we got to a county seat, we could go up to the courthouse, buy a license, go over to the other court, office, and somebody say, "You're married." And then we took the rest of the time, and so spent 3 weeks on our bicycles that time.
Now, can you tell them about your wonderful hotel? Your very inexpensive hotel.
Very inexpensive? Karen, what a story that one is. So it's our last day, and it was on our wedding trip, and we went into Pinehurst, North Carolina. Pinehurst is a big golfing place. Well, we didn't know that. All I knew was that it was dark, our lights were on, and we had to have a place to stay. So we come into Pinehurst, and there's this big, sparkly motel-type Pinehurst. I don't even know what they called it. The Pinehurst, I think they called it. We thought, well, it's kind of fancy looking, but for our honeymoon last night, let's try it. Kent went in, checked it out, and he came back and said, it's like $135 a night. And I said, well, come on, it's the last one, and it's dark, and I'm tired. So we went in, and we enjoyed ourselves, and the next day, the bill slid under the door, and I picked it up and looked at it, and I said, Kent, that was each, 135 each. So we don't do that too often. I'd much rather somebody come up and offer me a free room. But anyway, bicycling is just an experience. It's one day after the next, and I wouldn't give it in for the world. So hope you like RAGBRAI as much as I do.
Well, thank you for all that information, Deb, and I'm sure everyone's very eager to sign up for a committee if you haven't already, and Kathy for the insightful stories. We'll go ahead, Juanita's passing around the basket, and drop your card in, or your name tag if you don't have a business card with you. And we'll draw for the next meeting.